Hello everyone and welcome to Performance E-Streaming for Thursday Night Thunder. Tonight we're here at Charlotte Roval for round 10 of the ANZCAR Thunder Series. I'm Brett Douglas and with me as always in the commentary booth is Carl with you. How are you, Carl?
Oh, I'm good, thank you, Brett, and good evening to everybody everybody watching. I hope you're all well tonight.
Well, if they're not, they soon will be after they see the kind of racing we're expecting to get at the Roval.
Yeah, it's looking to be a good race tonight. It's probably going to be quite close. One of the things with the Roval, though, is you have to be careful because grip can be an issue, and from what the driver's been saying, they've been having quite a bit of trouble with the tyres too.
Yeah, they're not... Yeah, there's a few of them not coping too well out there in practice, but then I guess in practice you're pushing hard. That's the sort of thing you need to find out. But yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting based on practice so far, that's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of people are definitely struggling with the grip. It looks like the cars are just maybe getting a little bit of, quite a lot of oversteer, really. Not just a little bit, quite a lot of oversteer with a lot of the drivers.
Yeah, I think it's changing from car to car, actually, or driver to driver, depending on their style, because I've heard some of them complaining about understeer or push, others complaining of oversteer. Yeah, it's been very interesting. It's a really odd little track, this one, because it utilises most of the Charlotte Oval with a little infield section that's made up of the karting track and a few extra bits added on. So it's extremely difficult to get right in certain places like turn one and also the transition coming out onto the banking from the road section, if you want to call it that. So yeah, it's been fun to watch a few of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that transition from the flat to the oval is one of the tricky things. It's something people don't think about, but you do have quite a lot of banking on the oval here. So when you go from the flat to that oval, it can really unbalance the car a little bit, and you sort of get a little bit of an unsettled vehicle as you go onto the corner. And it's a relatively decent speed as well. And these are big, heavy cars that don't particularly like turning.
No, not at all, and that's a good point about the banking, because you're going from a flat surface up onto a 24-degree banking at the transition point. So yeah, it certainly destabilises the car. So, all right, well, what we might do is we might just do a quick recap of last week and the points. Last week, what do we have? Oh, sorry, 2 weeks ago, we were at the Glen. This is the third of our 3 road ovals, road courses. Road ovals. Wow. There you go.
Rovals, as we call them.
That's what happens when you say roval too often. So yeah, we've had Jake Maloney win the last 2 rounds at New Hampshire and the last one at Watkins Glen. Made the points situation very interesting too, hasn't it?
It has, absolutely. The championship is really close at the moment. So it's really thrown a sort of spanner in the works for some of the big drivers too. Jason Martin has actually... Everybody's been closing the gap to Jason Martin, and it's really made it quite interesting.
Yeah, it has. So we'll cover the top 10 here. So speaking of Jason Martin, he's still at the top on 301 points. Right behind him on 288 points is Edward Foster. He's been very consistent. Edward hasn't won a round yet, but extremely consistent. Chris Purnell is up there in third on 286, so he's only 2 points behind him. In fourth, we've got Hayden Dobman. One of our early round leaders. He was our first round leader and our 4th round winner, sorry. Then we've got Riley Curtis back there in 5th on 266 points. Matthew Clute there in 6th on 262. Joshua Carroll Walden in 7th on 260. James Foster on 244 points in 8th. Josh Michelmore on 242 points it is in 9th. And rounding out the 10 is Dave Douglas in 237 points. So obviously Dave won round 6. So yeah, it's not a big spread there between these guys. And you know, with a couple of rounds or 3 rounds to go, anything could change, couldn't it?
That's it, and we've seen in the past it can change so quickly. All it takes is one mistake, and you can go from the front to the back, and it can be very costly. A few drivers have been caught out this season because of that, and have lost a few points just through no fault of their own. I think back to New Hampshire, that was a very, I think, pivotal race for the championship, really. Pretty much all the championship contenders were sort of taken out towards the end of that thing.
Yeah, they were. It was a bit of a carnage-ridden race, wasn't it? And I mean, look, let's be honest, tonight, this is no one's favourite track, apart from a few of the guys. and yeah, anything could happen. So, all right, so we've finished practice. I'm just now I'm going to scan through. We've just started qualifying. I'm just going to have a look and see who's out on track right now and see if we can pick someone up here.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Edward Foster. He's just gone out and he's sort of getting around for his fast lap.
Right, we'll watch Edward. Yep, no worries. He's up there in the championship, so definitely be keen to get a good lap in, won't he, and start up the front here, because the first lap especially is going to be a little bit tough for a lot of these guys, I think.
It is, and you really want to be towards the front of the field on that first lap, because it's you can expect a little bit of carnage, and towards the mid-pack you may get knocked out quite early in this race. One of the drivers to watch out for, though, here, I reckon, will be Edward's brother, James Foster. He's been running very well in practice, and he's been very good over the road courses these past few races.
Yeah, he has. He's done very well, hasn't he? You're right, he was very quick in practice, so probably expect him to put in a fairly decent sort of a lap for qualifying. So, well, right now we're watching Edward Foster, so he's just starting his first flying lap now. So far looking fairly clean and tidy. Coming down through the infield section here, this is where it seems to be a bit of a compromise for these cars and these guys. You overdrive it and you're going to be off on the grass pretty quick.
You are, and Edward's just catching the grass just that tiny little bit, just putting the wheel just on the dirt very slightly, not enough to really cause much of a problem, but it's so tight and narrow through this infield section, and the camber is quite odd. It's very hard to see the edge of the track. Here he comes up onto the oval itself, driving onto the banking. Looked very clean through there.
Yeah, he did. He did that transition quite well, and that's somewhere where, as we were saying, a lot of the guys have been struggling. So,
yeah, there's been a fair few offs with that. The first corner is one of the trickier corners as well, just because it's a very heavy braking corner, and you've got to be careful because the back of the car will try and escape you very quickly there.
Yeah, well, this is a track that messes with a few heads, actually, because you've got, for the most part, the full oval, plus, this infield section. So it's kind of, you've got to keep switching between the two disciplines. So looking at that, what's that left us with? So Joshua Carroll Walden's actually put in the quickest time so far on a 106.3. Foster ended up with a 106.5. And just as I say that, Jackson Callow jumps to the top with a 106.0. So let's see who else is out there and see if we can catch him on a quick lap.
I'm just watching Edward's brother, James Foster now. He's on a reasonably fast lap. He's just coming on to the oval section now.
Just trying to pick him up here. Give me a minute.
Yes, and he's just going to be crossing the finish line very shortly. And where will that put him? We'll just wait for the timings to come through.
Well, Jackson Callow's still there on a 106.0, so...
A very good lap there from Jackson Callow. Callow's been very consistent, well, very fast this season, and James manages to put it into third place, just behind Joshua Carroll Walden and Jackson Callow.
Yeah, he's pipped his brother Edward, not by a lot though, only by 2/10. So, but yeah, so Jackson's still up there on top. Joshua Carroll Walden and James Foster, Edward Foster, and Ashley Lear's up there in fifth on a 106.9.
Yes, and as we're talking, the championship leader, Jason Martin's out on the track for his qualifying lap, just coming onto the oval now. It looks like a relatively clean lap from him. He's not been the fastest full practice in all honesty. He looks like he's been just struggling that a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of time he gets here for his qualifying lap.
Well, it's important these guys qualify up front, Carl, too, because obviously on the road courses we don't have cautions, so you don't have that extra ability to make up your time, do you?
No, there's not that buffer zone to really help you. You can't rely on not qualifying. And as we talk, Jason Martin has gone through and managed to get 5th place.
Yeah, he has on a 106.4, but I just noticed too, Jake Maloney has jumped up to 2nd with a 106.3.
Yes, Jake Maloney actually qualifying today, so that's a scary thing indeed.
I think that's a bit of an endorsement of how racing goes at the Roval too, though, yeah?
Yeah, that's it. And Hayden Dodman's actually just jumped up to 4th place, another championship contender.
Yeah, Hayden's done a 106.3, so yeah, he's 2 100ths behind Joshua Carroll Walden, yeah.
Yeah, it's very close at the moment. There's not much between these cars. It's from 10th onwards, there's less than an eighth of a second between them. So it's going to be a close race tonight for sure.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So right now I'm just watching Matthew Clute just go out just to start his warm-up lap. So I might just follow Matt for a while because he's normally one of our front runners, and right now he's fighting he's in 6th, so he's just behind Riley Curtis in the championship. So he needs to get a couple of decent results. He's had a couple of indifferent runs lately and sort of lost a few points, but yeah.
It's been a bit like that for many drivers the last few races. It's been very tricky for the last couple of races for many people. And that's really shaken the championship up quite a lot. Edward Foster in 2nd place has had very consistent drive, but he's not had a win yet this season. It's mainly been consistency for him. And just as we talk, Chris Purnell has actually put it into 2nd place with a fantastic lap there. And Mitchell McLeod actually has just gone fastest overall with a very fast lap.
Yeah, he has a 105.999.
Yeah, that was that came under the radar.
Well, up until then, no one was anywhere near Callow, were they? I mean, the closest was 3/10 behind, and yeah, that's now Purnell. So
absolutely smashed the lap there. Very good, very good lap there by McLeod. So just following Matthew Clute now, and he's going to hope he can get up there to start fighting with these guys, because it's, as I say, it's crucial to get up on the qualifying in this. Half of the race is qualifying almost.
Yeah, it is, especially here. So so Matt's on his first flyer right now, and so far it's reasonably clean, fairly well measured as he comes up onto the banking. A little bit out of shape there, so that would have cost him a little bit of time, probably a 10th or 2. Problem is when you don't come onto it clean, you don't have that, that terminal top speed for the oval section, which can really sort of hobble you a little bit, unfortunately.
Yes, it's one of the things with these sort of road ovals, these oval track circuits. Indianapolis, I sort of think back to with Formula 1 cars, is when you're getting onto the oval section, you need to have a good drive out of the corner just to get the speed up there.
Oh, you do. You need to get that transition right so that you've got that speed overall. I guess a little bit of drafting will take effect at some points around the oval, as it normally would in an oval race, but yeah. So I think Stephen Williams is out there right now. We'll try and pick up Stephen. So he's on his 2nd lap right now, currently sitting in 22nd. I'd say probably made a mistake on that first lap, so he'll be hoping that his this 2nd lap here will be a lot cleaner.
Yes, that's one of the things, when you've got sort of limited qualifying laps as well, as it can sort of, it can take a toll on you mentally.
Yeah, it can, and the thing is, it's so easy to get it wrong here too. One little mistake and you drop tenths like confetti. It's crazy.
Yes, and it's so easy to make a mistake here as well. That's the thing. It's just these sort of tracks, they're not known for their grip, as we were saying before in the practice.
No, and it's very cool conditions too. It's ambient and track are both 20 degrees, so there's not a lot out there. So hasn't really helped Stephen improve. He's improved to 21st on a 108. So I'm sure he'll come back through. He's normally pretty quick, so yeah, I'm sure he'll come back through during the race. But it's certainly made it a little bit hard for him, isn't it?
It's not making it easy, and it's a bit tricky for everybody out there, it looks like.
Just trying to find out who's out there right now.
And I just jumped onto Michael Scarlock.
Yeah, I just saw him out there as well. Cutting this fight, I don't know that he's going to have a lot of time to actually get a lap in, to be honest.
It's going to be very, very close here, and the 10-minute mark rolls over, and he didn't get the lap in.
No. Looks like a few of the guys didn't actually get a lap in, so anyway.
No, so we have our top 10, well, our grid settled, not just the top 10, obviously.
We do, and Mitchell McLeod stays at the top on a 105.999, which was a very good lap,
It
fairly
was.
late in the session. Yeah, up to that point. Our second place getter was Jackson Callow. He was on a 106.0. So, all right, so that's first two. Second row, Chris Purnell in third. Jake Maloney beside him on the second row. That should be interesting. Joshua Carroll Walden and Hayden Dobman on the next row. James Foster and Aaron Wilton on the following row. And rounding out our 10, 9th is Jason Martin and 10th is Edward Foster.
So as we go a little bit further down the field, we have Danny G in 11th place with Ashley Lear following up to his side. Matt Danson with Kai Sloggett. Dwayne Priest with Riley Curtis in 16th place. 17th place we have Gavin Sadler with Aaron Dillon in 18th. Norman Clark is next along in 19th place with Dave Douglas next to him. Stephen Williams is 21st with Roger Clark in 22nd. And then we have Darren McKenzie in 23rd with Matthew Clute. Michael Sherlock in 25th. Ben Doherty in 26th. And Todd Maxfield in 27th by the looks of things.
Yeah, and Nicholas Shields down there in 28. So it looks as though a few of the guys that went out there didn't actually manage to complete clean laps, so they haven't registered. But I think a couple of them didn't even try. I think Ben Doherty, Todd Maxfield, and Nicholas Shields, I didn't see them out there. So we did see Matt Clute and Michael Skurlock out there, but yeah, and Darren McKenzie as well, all with no times. So
it's very easy to do here. You just clip the just too much of the grass, and you can get the time thrown out through that. Just going on the walls as well. The thing about this track is it's very narrow and the walls are very close, especially on turn 1. The outside of turn 1, that wall is very, very close and always looming on you.
Yeah, that turn 1, that's going to catch a few out, I reckon. I think it's going to be a real problem for some guys. Lap 1's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out.
It is. I'm expecting the mid pack to struggle a little bit. That turn 1 is a very dangerous corner.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of Spa with the Grand Prix circuit, not the GT layout where the start finish is, of course, a little bit further forwards. But that very sharp first-hand corner, there's not much of a run-up either. So people are very sort of close together when they come into it, and it's very easy to have a big crash there.
Yeah, totally agree, and you know, I also agree with the comment about the mid pack too. They're all going to struggle with their braking marker as they go around the first couple of times and working out, you know, where the grip is and where it isn't. Yeah, it's not going to be pretty. So at the moment we're in the pace car coming around for the start. They're all forming up in their 2x2s. So yeah, this time around the pace car will pull away and we'll be away. So we're just going to have to try to keep up with what happens back down the pack, because without cautions we won't really have those brakes to go back and have a good look.
Yes, it makes it a bit tricky for the watching and commentating and also the video work as well. Very hard work.
Yeah, so it should be a fairly quick race though. I mean, you know, they're averaging sort of, you know, 107s, 108s on race pace, maybe even 109s when the tyres are gone. 50 laps here. Yeah, it's going to be a bit grueling.
It goes by quickly, so we're just coming around, everybody's forming up. The pace car will be jinking into the pit lane soon, and it will be green in a few moments. So just keeping an eye, I'm just looking at the sort of overhead blimp shot at the moment on my feed, and I'm just sort of, it's going to be hard for the drivers coming into that turn 1, very heavy cars with full fuel loads, and everyone's lining up, and we are getting ready to race.
Pace car's off and we are green. Okay.
And the leaders got a very good jump there. They've left the front three have got a very good jump.
Oh, back there in the pack, 4, 5 wide.
Very, very scary there. Joshua Carroll Walden just getting hung out a little bit there on the outside by the looks of it. Jason Martin did get a little bit of a bump on his back there as well. Quite a few little taps through people. Just love taps through the midfield there.
Yeah, well, back at the front though, Jackson Callow just in turn 2 just managed to get a great run around Mitchell McLeod, and he's taken the lead.
great start there by Jackson Callow. Absolutely lightning start.
So as we come out onto the oval section for the first time, we've got Jackson Callow, Mitchell McLeod, and Chris Purnell up front.
Yeah, fantastic start. Hayden Dodman and Aaron Milton also got a great start. Ashley Lear, I think, is probably one of the biggest winners. He managed to get 5 places at the start there. He's currently sitting in 7th place.
Well, the carnage off the start. I mean, it wasn't, I don't know that it was carnage, but there was a lot of bumping and grinding. So anyone who managed to get a clean run certainly benefited. Oh, and who's that getting sideways out there? Was that Jake Maloney?
I think it was. It's pretty tricky to see. A few people just getting sideways there.
Yeah, it was Jake Maloney, but he's managed to gather up, didn't lose anything. But right now we've got Chris Purnell seriously challenging Mitchell McLeod, and he's actually got him too. So McLeod's, gets a bit out of shape there, but McLeod's now coming under pressure from Dodman by the looks of it.
Yeah, great start. Chris Purnell absolutely flying there. Jackson Callow's just running away at the moment. He's just pulling away from the field as it is. One of the people that really had a bit of a rough first lap there I was watching was Jason Martin. He's dropped 6 places. He had a bit of a tap on the back of his car just going into the first corner, and he seems to have dropped down quite a lot. So a bit worrying there for the championship leader.
Yeah, well, that's a bit of a shame, but you know, Jason's pretty resilient. He'll come back. So at the moment, as you say though, Callow's just bolting, isn't he? Purnell's giving chase now. McLeod sort of managed to stabilise whatever was going on there. Might have just been cold tyres, needed him to come up to temp, just wasn't right for him. But the battle right now seems to be Dodman and Maloney, actually, back there in 4th and 5th.
Yes.
Maloney just going off the road then. Yeah, it is.
Yes. Just gone off, and it's just allowed McLeod through, and
McLeod's just passed Purnell, so Purnell's made a bit of a mistake there by the looks of it, and allowed McLeod through.
Yeah, sorry, I was getting the cars watched up because I was watching Purnell there, and yes, I think we were both watching similar liveried cars.
Yeah, it's always a challenge when you've got teammates out there close together, isn't it?
It makes it interesting. It makes our job a little bit harder.
All right, so Callow's actually hanging on quite well out there in front. Purnell's all over McLeod again here, so he's gathered it all up and he's got his head straight. But yeah, these cars are really taily and really difficult to muscle around by the looks of it, aren't they? They're squirming all over the place.
They are, and they're very heavy at the moment as well because they have the pretty much full fuel tank, which really does change the way these cars feel. Just the weight of the fuel on board a racing car really does just make it feel like a giant lump of lead.
Yeah, it does. Look, I'd like to go back through the pack, but we've got such close stuff going on up the front here that I'm sort of a little bit reluctant to shift back. So at the moment, Callow's holding that gap. He's got about a 1.4 second lead, yeah, McLeod's pulling away from Purnell a little bit now. Not a huge rate, but he's gapped him at least, and yeah, he'll try and hold that gap and start going after Callow, you'd assume.
Yes, they've got to just try and start catching Callow because he's just pulling away at the moment, and the more they fight, the more he's going to get away with it. The quicker he pulls away, and the bigger the lead gets, and the harder it gets to catch him. And of course, with no full course cautions, you can't rely on the safety car to bunch everybody up for it.
No, well that's it, and I mean it's always the case though. I mean if you can get a good start, you can lead away, you can sort of hopefully get that gap early, and you can choose your lines and you can pick your lines and run smooth and quick while everyone else battles. You know, the ideal situation is this, where you start to develop a gap, but looking at it visually, it looks like they're starting to catch him up. So I wonder if he hasn't gone out a little bit too hard, too fast, and burned his tyres up, Carl.
Yeah, it always can be a problem. Of course, he may just be easing off a little bit, just trying to let the car just settle in a bit, not push it too hard. But it is very easy to light those tyres up, and as soon as you sort of get the tyres slightly overheated, it's very hard to cool them back down again. Yeah,
I just noticed too, Purnell just dropped back to 4th from 3rd. looks like Dodman's managed to get past him. Looks like he had some sort of problem just on the transition over there to the oval, or just before it actually.
Yeah, and that's catching a lot of people out. I'm just looking down the field a little bit, and one of the big losers from the start was Joshua Carroll-Walden, dropping down to 10th place. Dropped 6 spots from the start, and sort of he got caught out a little bit at the start. Just with the start there, the sort of front 3 cars managed to pull away very easily, and I think Carroll-Walden was just a little bit slow off the start and just got caught out, and just pushed him back and let the field sort of break up that little bit too.
Yeah, he's just sitting there at the back of that second pack, isn't he, in 10th behind Edward and James Foster, Wilton, Lear. Yeah, those guys are just back there. They're actually losing a bit of time to the front pack, actually.
They are, yes. It's sort of starting to break up a little bit, and you do tend to find this happens on these sort of courses. You sort of get the separate packs and separate fights happening, and it can be very hard to catch up to the rest of the drivers. It can be a very sort of tricky track to get sort of back to speed on, but it looks like Callow is really dropping back now.
Yeah, McLeod's closed right up on the back of him, hasn't he? I really think he might have fried his tyres early on. He's just gone out too hard, too fast, and tried to do the hair, and the tortoise has now got him. And, you know, McLeod, he won't muck around. He'll try to get past him pretty quick, I'd say.
No, and it looks like McLeod's going to be giving it a try. He's just putting his nose just up the inside. He's just pulling out just to get his mirrors. Just trying to distract Callow. One of the things you can do, of course, is you just get it in somebody's mirrors. Just keep going up just make it look like you're going to take a lunge up the inside just to put them in the defensive line. And especially when you're coming onto the oval part, if you can get them slightly offline to come into that, they will be a little bit slower and have a slightly better speed advantage, and of course you will also be getting that draft.
Yeah, that's it. And, you know, just watching then, and McLeod came onto the oval section, the transition section, a hell of a lot smoother than Callow did. But all the while too, if you have a look behind, sitting back there in 3rd is Dodman, and he's slowly ranging up on this. So as these two battle, everyone else is slowly catching back up to him now.
They are, yes, and that's one of the things, when you battle you do start to lose time, and everybody can just hope that these guys start to sort of back each other up, and it just closes up the pack a little bit, because it is starting to get a bit spread out. We've got about a 10-second gap from 1st to 10th, so it's not a huge gap at the moment, but it is sort of getting there as we go.
Yeah, and the other thing to remember too, there is a road oval section here, so yeah, we treat it as a road basically, and we don't have the close, you know, 100th, 200th gap racing that we do in ovals. So, but wow, I'll tell you what, they're all sticking together pretty close. But I'm noticing on that infield section, quite a number of them, including Callow, are very, very, very squirming.
Yeah, Callow is definitely struggling. His car is not looking the nicest to drive at the moment, and he's still doing well to keep out in front, but McLeod's going to have to get a run on him very shortly. And speaking of that, he goes down the inside.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off then. Yeah, I was going to say, he's gone down the outside, but I think Callow just took some wall. Yep.
Yes.
Down there in turn.
And Callow's having a fight back, but does not look like he can get McLeod. Oh, wait, McLeod's gone a little bit wide. Callow's just trying to get through, but as Callow's having that fight, it's giving Dodman a chance to come up. Dodman's just clipped the back end of Callow, but it looks like he's going to try and get the pass done.
Yeah, McLeod will start to pull away now, and just behind there, Purnell's just taken Maloney as well. So they're battling. Well, actually, no, they're still going.
Callow's just had a... Sorry to cut you off there, Brett. Callow's just had a bit of an off on the grass. He's given Dodman a chance to get up the inside over the oval section, and Dodman looks like he's going to get through without too much trouble.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Callow's really starting to struggle now.
Yes, and Dodman just gave him a little tap as well going through those sections. With Callow also hitting the wall, he hit the wall relatively hard as well. It might have caused some suspension damage to the front of that car, which is going to make it even more of a pig to drive if he's sort of burnt the tyres a little bit.
No, I'd agree. Remains to be seen yet what sort of damage he's done. He's hanging on there okay, but he was already starting to struggle pretty badly before that touch with the wall. I don't know he would have done a lot of damage because he seemed to hit it fairly square, but it certainly will have at the very least, dented his confidence too. So, I mean, these guys are just absolutely pulling away now. Mitchell McLeod's just running with it, but, you know, well, I'll tell you, Dodman's not really pulling away from Callow that quick, is he?
No, he's not. McLeod's definitely getting a good lead, but Dodman's not getting much of a pull away. But one thing to watch for is Callow just coming onto the oval. It looks like he's losing a lot of time in that section, just as he's coming from the road course to the oval. And it's sort of noticeable there where he's just having a bit of a struggle by the looks of things. The back of the car is also looking a little bit second-hand too, just from a few of the taps from people behind him.
Yeah, I think he definitely burned his gear up a little bit too early, unfortunately, and trying to hang on just finished it off, didn't it?
It did, and looks like we've got somebody coming into the pits. Looks like Jake Maloney's coming into the pits, actually. So a very early stop.
Yeah. What are we on now? We're working lap 11 now out of 50. So fifth of the race down. I wouldn't have expected anyone to be coming in just yet.
No, and we've also got car 10 as well in the pits, I think.
Car 10, that would be... That's Ash Lear, isn't it?
Dave Douglas.
Dave Douglas, sorry, yeah, that's right. Ashley is 010.
Yes, that's it. Just to be awkward.
Yeah. Just had to pull myself up then, I just realised.
These drivers with their driver numbers make it difficult on us.
Yeah, well, I'm just having a bit of a look back through the pack now, Carl, because Mitchell McLeod and Hayden Dolman are kind of running out in free air there. So I'm kind of just going back. Callow's fairly comfortable there in fourth by the looks of it, with Purnell behind him. Sorry, Callow's in third, Purnell in fourth, and Ash Lear in fifth, but they're all sort of running fairly openly. The first little battle we seem to have going here is between, what's that, James Foster and Aaron Wilton. They're battling over 7th and 8th.
Yes, that sort of 7th.
6th and 7th, yeah.
Yeah, 6th and 7th battle is very close at the moment. There's a couple of close drivers, but it's sort of a bit mixed up. Joshua Carroll Walden and Matt Danson as well in 9th and 10th are having a pretty decent battle.
Yeah, okay, we'll have a look at this. I've just noticed too, Purnell's just closed right up on the back of Callow now. So he'll start challenging for third any moment, I would imagine.
He will, and we've also got Spinner just on the infield there.
Yeah, I couldn't see who it was, unfortunately.
Nicholas Shields. There we go, in the number 83.
Right, and Purnell's just going down the inside of Callow now as they go through turn 3 of the oval section. We'll see if he can hang on to that and get him. If he holds that line, he'll certainly take it down into turn 1 because he'll have the ideal line.
Well, and he's just going down the inside and looks like he's got a nice clean move there. And Callow's gone wide and straight into the wall, and we've got a big crash.
Did anyone hit him?
They did. I think it was Ashley Lear that hit him. Somebody went into him pretty hard as he bounced off the wall there.
Yeah, it was. It was Ashley. Oh, that's unfortunate, isn't it?
Just a sort of passenger in that accident. Nothing he could do there. Just with Callow bouncing off the wall like that in front of him, there was really nowhere he could go. Really unfortunate there for Ashley Lear, who's had a fantastic drive. Ashley Lear's come 8 places so far, so hopefully there's not too much damage to that car, but it does look like he's relatively slow, and James Foster is catching him, going down the inside at the moment, into the on the oval and into the first corner.
Yeah, well the thing is, Foster actually caught Callow as well, just after Lear did, but looks like Lear's really come off second best, doesn't it?
Yes, unfortunately. Really punished Ashley Lear there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame for Ash. Yeah, normally one of the quick runners, but he might be able to hang on to this and just sort of get around and pick up some good points. So we'll see how Foster goes with his damage, because he certainly took a piece of Callow as he went through at the same time. But he seems to be okay at this stage. He's got Wilton all over him at the moment, though.
Yes, and it sort of backed that pack up quite a bit as well. It's really closed everybody up with the accident there of Callow.
Yeah, I'm just trying to have a look now and see who we've actually lost through the race. We've got quite a few of them already, a lap or more down. Roger Clark looks like he's gone. Being told it could have been a blown engine. Todd Maxfield and Aaron Dillon, Matt Clute, Dave Douglas, Jake Maloney. Yeah, they're all multiple laps down or gone. So I think Jake Maloney's put the car behind the wall, as has Todd Maxfield. Dwayne Priest as well has put his car behind the wall, and Dave Douglas, I think, as well. So we've had a few retirements so far.
Yeah, it's a real shame. There's some real big hitters gone out quite early there. Aaron Milton's just catching on James Foster as well. A very good little battle here for 4th and 5th. These guys have been battling it out all race pretty much.
Yeah, there's not much going on up front though. I mean, we've still got Mitchell McLeod out clean air. He's got a very healthy gap back to Dodman. Right now it's about just over 2.5 seconds. Then the further 4 seconds back would be Purnell. So yeah, it looks like they've just spread out at the front, and now we'll be waiting to see what the pit strategies are, I suppose.
We will indeed. And I was just watching Nicholas Shields just almost collected some of the pack there. He's running very slow on the track at the moment, unfortunately. It looks like there's a bit of damage. But very close there, coming on to the through the first corner, actually. Quite a big pack almost went into him there. So that first corner is a very nasty one, and you've really got to be careful going through there.
Yeah, you do. It's very awkward, actually, because you know you've got to really brake a lot earlier than what you think you do.
Sorry, Brett, just to jump in there, Aaron Wilton just had a big moment going into the first corner as you were talking about it. He went sideways, managed to catch it though, but it let James Foster just get a decent lead over him.
All right, it's a bit of a shame. He was all over him before that, wasn't he?
He was, but he did a great save. He was pretty much sideways going into that first corner and managed to catch it. And he's actually catching a little bit on Foster again. So really good drive by Wilton. Yeah,
he was third in last season's truck series, I think it was, or second. I can't remember now. But yeah, he's definitely a very good steerer for the Alliance team. So with James carrying that damage, doesn't look like Aaron's got any damage. So you'd have to think that he'll have a slight speed advantage. But tell you what, James Foster's doing pretty well out there, considering he did hit Gallo, isn't he?
Yes, and it's sort of slightly to be expected, in all honesty, on these road tracks for James. He's a very good road racer. He's very good in the GT cars as well.
Yeah, I was about to say, don't say road. He's never really him out on any track in any car, is what I say.
No, I've learnt that the hard way over my years with James.
So I'm just going back a little bit. Just looking at battle just further back for 7th and 8th between was it Edward Foster and Matt Danson. Joshua Carroll-Walden's just slightly just behind those guys as well. That seems to be where the battle's happening right now. Both quick runners, both up there in the championship. So yeah, these two will be keen to get the better of each other.
Well, and Danson's right underneath the rear of Foster's car there. Very close racing.
I think Danson just went into the rear of Foster then. He's dropped back a little bit as I come up.
Yeah, it did look like he touched. He was, if he didn't touch, then the front of that car was pretty much touching his gearbox.
Yeah, no, it definitely looked like it. It looked like he might have just carried a bit too much speed there from the road to the oval section. It just went into the rear of Foster. So it hasn't hurt Foster, but it's certainly given him a gap back to Danson now. So
no, I think Foster actually got quite lucky there because of the way the car sits on that oval. His Danson sort of went almost underneath the back of the car, so he didn't really cause much damage to the rear end because he was, especially with these stock cars, they are quite high at the rear too, and where he was sitting on that oval, it looks like he just managed to avoid too much damage. And same goes for Matt Danson, in all honesty. He's probably not got too much damage, and they've just caught Ashley Lear now, car number 010, and Foster's caught him at a great rate of knots, so we've got a great battle here.
Yeah, poor old Ash, he'll be struggling after all of that damage he got when he hit Callow after he bounced back.
Oh, and sorry, Mitchell McLeod has gone into the fence going onto the oval, so it looks like he's pretty much out of this race. He's very much gone into the fence there, and looks like he's going to be retiring that car.
Right, okay. I might see if I can see what happened there, actually.
Yes, and as we talk, Foster is battling with Danson and Leah. It looks like Danson's actually got the better out of all those cars, got down the inside, but Foster's coming back at him. So great little battle there. Foster's on the inside now for turn number 3, and that means Leah's got the inside for turn number 4. But looks like Foster's just keeping a nose ahead of his car. Really close battle here for 5th, 6th, and 7th, and Ashley Lee has spun, unfortunately.
Yeah, Ashley was struggling with that damage, remember?
Yes, and a real shame because he was a real contender for this race, and it's really thrown him out of here. But one of the big winners from all of this is, surprise, surprise, Jason Martin. He's managed to claw his way back up to 8th place now. He was running about 17th at one stage in this race.
Yeah, well, he certainly made it up. Yeah, I've just gone back, Carl, and I figured out what happened to Mitchell McLeod. He just went wide on that final left-hand sweeping corner there before you go on to the oval transition, and unfortunately got off onto the grass and into the fence there. So
very nasty place to go off and can cause a lot of damage. And Foster's just run wide into turn 1. Just caught the barrier with the back of his car. It doesn't look like he's caused too much damage, but it's given Matt Danson a good run up for him. So again, these two are battling tooth and nail at the moment.
All right, so as we work lap 20, we've got Hayden Dobman out front with a 4.8 second lead over Purnell. And then we come back to James Foster, Aaron Wilton, and then we have this battle here that we're watching with Edward Foster and Matt Danson. And I'll say Joshua Carroll Walton too, because he's closed up in the back of Danson.
Yes, Joshua Carroll Walton's coming back into this fight after a really bad start. He's clawing his way back up the field, and Danson looks like he's got a better drive onto the oval, so looks like he's going to try. He's trying the outside now. He's gone back to the inside for turn 1. He's currently inside of Foster, so it looks like he's going to get this pass done.
Yeah, if you can hold that line before they get down into turn 1 into the braking zone. Although Foster's coming back around and trying to do the switchback on him, this will be a braking duel into turn 1 by the looks of it. But no, Foster thinks better of it and just backs out of it a little bit, and through they go. Because one little mistake there, as we saw with Callow, and you're gone.
Yes, discretion is the better part of valour there. And I think I just saw Jason Martin, who's getting a bit closer. He did just have a bit of a lock-up going into that corner.
Oh, Carroll Walden straight down the inside of Foster at turn 2 and 3. Foster's gone back around the outside now.
Walden just had the car got completely loose there, and Walden did a good job keeping it, but that's dropped him sort of back a little bit, and Jason Martin is just sneaking his way up the field. He's got a lot of damage to the rear of that car, but he's coming up the field now, and like a shark hunting prey, he smelt blood.
Yeah, he's just slowly creeping through, isn't he? But he's got a hell of a job on his hands to try to get in touch with the leaders now. He's a long way back. He's, 17 seconds off, 18 seconds behind.
Yes, he's dropping. They've really pulled out a decent gap. Just looking up the field a little bit, I'm actually just looking towards James Foster, who's doing a great job. He's currently 7 seconds down off the leader, but with that little bit of damage, he's really clawed his way back up the field and sort of got himself on a podium finish.
Yeah, he's managed to pull away and gap Aaron Wilton, hasn't he? A couple of laps ago, they were all over each other. We're lap 22 now, 50. But no, he's managed to pull away, and I guess he's going to try and head off in the hunt for Purnell. But Purnell's probably a good 3 or 4 seconds up the road still. So
yes, and just as we're talking, there's some more action there. Edward Foster just got a little bit wide, and it's just let Joshua Carroll Walden get up into 6th place.
So he has. He'll have Martin all over him in a minute.
He will. Martin is really coming up behind him. And then behind that pack is Darren McKenzie with Danny G as well, sort of in 9th and 10th. They're a little bit off the rest of the pack there, but they're slowly starting to catch them.
Yeah, well, at the moment the man that's laughing is Matt Danson. A lap ago he was battling with 3 cars, and now he's out there on his own chasing Wilton, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He really got a nice bit of clear air there, and his pulled away from that battle, which is kind of what you want. You don't really want to be involved in those battles because it's very dangerous to be there. All it takes is one mistake going into that first corner, and as we've seen, it can take you and a couple of other people out of the race very quickly.
Yeah, it can. I was just watching our leader Hayden Dobman. He's just lapped. I think it was Kai Sloggett. Kai's kind of just hanging on to him there, and yeah, it was just a bit hairy there for a minute. It got a bit worried, but he got past him, so it's all clear. Next one to come up on Kai now will be Chris Purnell.
Yes, and it looks like we've got some possible green flag sort of scheduled pit stops happening. Darren McKenzie, Ashley Lear, and I think Michael Scarlock as well have come in.
Yeah,
Darren McKenzie
in there as well.
Yeah, Darren McKenzie was up there in high, and looks like Dodman's coming in for a pit stop now as well.
Yeah, he is. Yep, he's just come into the pit lane. Be interesting to see who follows him. So it's at lap 23.
Yes.
So Wilton's come in as well. Okay, so
Danson's in here as well, and Jason Martin as well has followed them into the pit.
Yeah, so we've got Purnell, James Foster, Carol Walden, and Edward Foster have carried on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much of a difference fresh tyres make. It could really make a big advantage for the drivers, but again, some of the drivers were complaining that they could only get 1 or 2 laps on these tyres before they really went off, so it might not be a huge advantage, but we'll have to see.
Well, based on practice and qualifying times, the tyre drop-off was about 2.5 seconds, Carl, so it's quite substantial.
Yes. We'll have to see how, if anybody's managed to keep a little bit of life in their tyres, they might manage to get a little bit of time in there, but depends how people go on the cold tyres too.
Well, that's it. Oh, hello. Mitchell McLeod's just had a lose. Obviously, Mitchell was a little bit further back down, but he's just had a lose going into the same place where he had the crash earlier, which is the transition from the flat track to the oval.
Oh, not very nice there. Chris Purnell, Joshua Carroll Walden, Edward Foster have all come into the pits. James Foster's actually stayed out, interestingly enough. James Foster is currently in the lead of the race now.
Well, I was about to say that we've seen Edward Foster quite often try and do the longer run and get that extra mileage. So he's come in and James has stayed out. So this is an interesting tactic.
Yes, James can be very good on his tyres. Sort of working with him in the past and sort of following him like I have, knowing him for a while, I know that he can be a very good driver for eking out a little bit of extra mileage on his cars. But I can't imagine he's going to stay out too much longer.
No, he'll have to come in. He'll be losing too much time. I mean, you know, I'm just having a look here now to see what was Dodman's first flying lap there.
106. So yeah, he's about a second. Sorry, no, I haven't got that lap in. Sorry, I was looking at the best laps.
No, he hasn't finished the first one. He's just coming around through the oval section now to finish it. But I can guarantee you it's substantially faster than what these other guys are going. And I wouldn't mind betting it's probably around the 2.5 to 3 second mark faster.
And as we talk, James has just put it into the pits and he's coming to a stop now.
Yeah, I just saw Michael Skurlock come in as well then.
So Dodman's just coming past now, and he's
106.6.
Yeah, a lot faster there.
Yeah, no, absolute no-brainer, wasn't it? So those guys had to come in. You know, even just a couple of laps, and you know the time lost is just too much to try to catch back up.
It is, and as James Foster emerges from the pits, he's just lost a place to Matt Danson. So James has dropped down to 4th place. So yeah, staying out on those tyres did seem to cost him. But now, of course, he's going to have slightly fresher tyres than the rest of the field. So that may come into play slightly, but there is only a couple of laps in it.
Yeah, so as we work lap 26, we've just passed the halfway mark now. Trying to work out the effective lead here after all these stops have shaken out. And I would say it's Dodman out there in front by a fair distance. At the moment, Wilton is sitting in 2nd place. So, yeah, Aaron's had a brilliant stop, and he's really seemed to make up some ground there, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. And another person that's made a big move in those pit stops was actually Jason Martin. He's up to 5th now. Edward Foster's dropped down to about 10th place. So I don't know what happened to him in that pit stop section, but he really lost a few spots. Darren McKenzie actually got ahead of Edward Foster by the looks of things. Darren McKenzie was one of the early pitters. He basically stopped first, and he's really made some good time up. He's sitting just behind Ashley Lear at the moment.
Yeah, another one who didn't seem to come out too well out of the stops was Chris Purnell. He was sitting up there in 2nd before, and now he's dropped back down to 6th after those stops. So not really sure what happened there.
No, we've got a fantastic battle going on at the moment, though, with 7th place Joshua Carroll Walden, Ashley Lear, Darren McKenzie and Edward Foster, with Danny G just following up behind. So really close battling here.
Right, okay, we'll keep an eye on that one, because at the moment I'm a bit further up front here and I'm watching a battle between Wilt Danson and we've got James Foster ranging in on the back of them as well to make it a three-way battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, it looks like we've got some good fights going on through the field. Ashley Lear is just getting Darren McKenzie actually just got a fantastic run on Ashley Lear and has managed to get up to 7th place. Edward Foster has also got a bit of a run. He's going to make a big lunge down the inside of turn 1, I reckon.
I'm not sure, but I can't see. I know is Aaron Wilton still out there? I think he might have disappeared out of the server, actually.
Yes, I can't see him I can't seem to see him, actually. He seems to have dropped off my radar. No, he's still here. He's dropped to 3rd place. Matt Danson's actually got up to 2nd now.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he hasn't had some internet issues there, actually.
He seems to have lost a bit of time, actually. Be interested to see what his last lap was.
Yeah, no, he definitely disappeared. Anyway, but Danson's got past him now, so Danson's moved up into 2nd.
Yes, and the battle down at the sort of back of the 10, Ashley Lear's dropped off quite a lot from the rest of the pack. Edward Foster's having a great battle with Darren McKenzie now. He's just sort of coming up to the rear of the car, and he's currently on the oval. It looks like he's going to try for the inside of turn 1.
Well, Danson, Dolman's got a 14-second lead over Danson, so yeah, he's kind of running away with this one. He's certainly come out of it all in a very good spot, hasn't he?
He has, yes. He's really having a great race, and unfortunately for Hayden Dodman is when you have a race like this, you tend to get forgotten about when you're in the front.
You do, especially when you've got a big lead, because obviously we want to have a look and see where the battles are and try and give everybody a little bit of time in the sun. And yeah, when you're just running away with it, yeah. But just as I say that. That was a lap car of Stephen Williams that Danson just went by. I just saw a car getting out of shape in front of Danson, and he shot by. But yeah, it was Stephen Williams who's a couple of laps down. So
yeah, a lot of people have dropped off that lead lap and are really struggling. They've had sort of incidents. A lot of cars are very beaten up out there tonight.
Yeah, it's not surprising though. We kind of expected it. It's a pretty brutal track, this one. The first few laps were pretty brutal, as we saw. Back in the pack, cars going 4 or 5 wide in turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3, and it's a fairly narrow piece of road, so it was bound to happen, wasn't it?
It was, and Edward Foster's just put a great move on Darren McKenzie. McKenzie's gone wide, and he's just missed the wall. Turn 1, a very near miss for Darren McKenzie there. He would have been taking a deep suck of breath there as he went through that corner, because couldn't have been much closer to the wall.
Yeah, I'm still trying to work out what happened to Edward Foster in those stops, but I'm not really sure. So if we get a chance to talk to him later, we might ask him. But otherwise, it'll remain a mystery, I guess. But Carol Walden's just in front of those guys. That battle between Foster and McKenzie seems to have kind of just levelled out now, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. McKenzie's dropping off a bit, and I do wonder slightly if McKenzie was the first car to stop, basically, for tyres. He was the first driver in, and it seems he to have got him quite a bit of time. He did make up quite a few places after those pit stops, but now he's starting to drop back a bit, and it looks like he's having a bit of a struggle with the car as well, so it might just be those tyres just dropping off a little bit for him.
Well, we saw that with Callow, didn't we? He just took off like a scolded cat, and you know, within 5 laps they were hauling him back in because his tyres were done. You know.
Yes, and it's one of those things you've got to really be careful of, and you sort of it's hard sometimes because you do want to go as fast as you can as a racing driver, but sometimes it's not necessarily the fastest car that's going to win. Sometimes you've just got to take up, you know, just go a little bit slower just to let the car just keep its speed for the rest of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. You just got to look after your gear. It's a 50-lap race. Right now we're on lap 31, so we've still got 19 to go. And I've just noticed too that our early race leader, Mitch McLeod's just looks like he just put the car behind the wall. Unfortunately, he's had a few incidents now, so I guess he's finally had enough and just put the car away. Real
shame. He had some great pace early on. I'm actually just watching the battle for second, third, and fourth. Actually, James Foster's caught up to the back of Wilton, and Wilton's caught to the back of Danson. So we've got a good little battle happening there.
Yeah, it looks like Foster's all over the back of Wilton, isn't he?
He is. Yes, he's really caught up to Wilton. And
Danson's made a bit of a break there.
Danson's getting away a little bit. They were catching him a bit, and then he sort of managed to get away a little. But it's hit or miss with those guys. They're driving pretty hard.
Yeah, I think Wilton's having some internet issues because the car's blinking in and out an awful lot. So.
Yeah, not just me then. Yeah, I sort of I was noticing that. So it looks like he's having some trouble. We've seen it a couple of times this season, and it's always a shame.
Yeah, it is, and it's also off-putting for the guy behind too, because you don't really know whether you can get up close or not. Because if they reappear at the wrong time, they can put you into the wall, and themselves as well, obviously. But you know, it's quite off-putting, and as I say that, Foster goes down the inside, and Wilton doesn't make it terribly hard for him. He'd know that he's having some dramas right now, and yeah, it looks like Foster's just pulling away now. He's just got past him, and he's just going after Danson.
Yeah, it did look like Wilton just gave him the spot there almost, just because of those issues, and it's a wise move to make. You know, you don't really want to wreck somebody else's race with your problems. And it's a smart thing to do as well, because it's only going to help for your race. If you do get the internet working correctly again and everything's fine, then you can always catch up to the driver in front if you're not damaged.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's all about sportsmanship too, right? So that was good to see. He definitely seemed to yield, didn't he? It just all happened too easy.
Yes, and that's, you know, one of the good things with these drivers is they know not to go too hard when they've got problems like that, and it's no fun if you wreck somebody else's race because of your internet issues.
No. It'll be interesting to see now how quick Foster catches Danson, actually.
Yes. So it looks like Foster's a little bit slower than Danson at the moment. That last lap he was about 4/10 slower. So
yeah, but that was also traffic running too.
Yes. That's the other thing, is if Danson catches the traffic at the wrong moment, it could put him into the grasp of Foster without too much trouble.
Well, it's swings and roundabouts, isn't it? You know, the one guy comes up on traffic, slows down, one catches up, he gets past, and the next bloke's got to get past him, loses a bit of time, kind of washes out in the end.
It does. So we're just on Gavin Sadler at the moment. Gavin Sadler's having a bit of a fight with Ben Doherty back here.
Yeah, it looks like this is where the action is at the moment. Where are they? They're back in... wow, how far back are they? Hang on a second.
12th and 13th.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that really nice liveried cars actually. I'll just mention that. The Martini livery is always one of my favourites on Doherty, but the Toyota livery on Gavin Sadler is a nice classic look on him.
Yeah, no, they very well turned out team, aren't they?
Yes. You sometimes look at these liveries and go, yeah, that's a nice car. So yeah, good battle here. Very close at the moment between Sadler and Doherty. Just about 0.4 of a second between the two at the moment, and they've just come onto the oval section.
Well, they've got Riley Curtis just lurking back there as well, waiting to see what's going to happen here, because if anything happens with these two, obviously Riley will rub his hands together and sail on through, won't he?
He will, and just behind them actually is Skurlock. who's running quite far back, really, and I think he got caught up in a little bit of trouble, possibly early on in the race. But
yeah.
It's not often we see Scarlett running sort of back in 15th place, and Curtis as well in 14th, and you sort of see them towards the front of the field more often than not.
Yeah, you do, but I guess some nights just aren't your night, and clearly tonight's just not Michael Skurlock's night, is it?
No, and Ben Dirty's just put a great move on Gavin Sadler, just going around the outside onto the oval, and he's managed to get a really good run, actually. So side by side, across the start-finish line and down that oval section, but Dirty's just managed to get a little bit of a lead and pulled out just in front.
Yeah, I don't think Sadler's done yet, though. If he can hang on here, he might be able to do something under brakes into turn one, although, as we've seen, it's not the safest place to try to pull a passing move, is it? And Riley Curtis is closed right up on these two now as they've been battling.
Yes, and very close between the three. And one of the things I've actually noticed all night is when a car's been defending going into turn one, just because they've had to go slightly wider almost, it's put them sort of just slightly at a disadvantage because they get very close to the wall on the outside of that corner. And I've sort of noticed that all night, that they've really been struggling when they've been defending into that corner.
Yeah, well, I think it's a case of watching your rear vision mirror. So you've only got one eye on the corner and one eye on the rear vision mirror, and as you know, it really puts you off your optimal line and your braking and so on. So, but it's up to you to try to hold it together and not let them pass, isn't it?
Yes, and that's it. It's your job to keep them behind you.
And so it actually looks like now Doty's just pulling away, and Sadler's falling back into the clutches of Riley.
Yes, that sort of battle's starting to ease out a little bit. Sort of, although Riley's catching on, looks like Riley Curtis has got the best of Sadler here.
Yeah, I'm just having a bit of a flick through the field here to see where everyone...
And sorry, just Gavin Sadler just got caught wide there. He just went wide into turn one and lost a lot of time. I think maybe Curtis just caught him just going into the corner. It was very close there between the two, but Riley Curtis has come out the better of the two. Gavin Sadler's lost a lot of time, and Ben Dirty's just pulling away in 12th place. So this battle is pretty much over and done with.
All right, well, I'm watching back in, 7th and 8th at the moment, with Joshua Carroll Walden and Edward Foster having an absolute cracker of a battle here. They're side by side as they come through the oval, up and under and over each other, and it looks like Foster's going to try to outbrake Carroll Walden into turn one, which he successfully does. And
a beautiful move there by Foster.
Yeah, Carroll Walden smartly just saw that he didn't have the line, and it was Foster's corner, and yeah, lives to fight another day, so he didn't lose too much ground to him there, only the position.
No, and a little bit further up the field, we've got Chris Purnell and Jason Martin having a very good battle. Martin's just about 0.3 to 0.4 of a second behind Purnell. They've just got a little bit of traffic, but they're definitely close to each other.
Yeah, their last lap times have been fairly close together too. Martin's just been slowly creeping up on him, but actually I think Purnell's got past him, because after those pit stops, he was behind Martin.
He was, yes, actually, yeah. Purnell's actually got through and actually making a break for it.
Well, Martin's carrying all that damage on the rear of the car too, so maybe that's having an impact. But yeah, no, Purnell's definitely done well to get back up there and get past Martin. So obviously those two are fairly used to battling each other at the front of the field, so this would be a little bit different for them, battling for 5th and 6th, wouldn't it?
Yes, it's one of those things you don't want to think about yourself down that far as a racing driver, but it's not very often we see these guys sort of that far back, and 5th and 6th isn't that far back in all honesty, but they've been so close to the front of the field all season. Yeah,
well, that's the thing, and obviously a few little misfortunes and other things have just played into it and put them where they are. So Martin was at the top of the table as we came into tonight. Purnell was in 3rd, so they'll be both wanting to carry some points away.
They will, and as we talk, Purnell's catching Wilton at the moment, and you have to wonder if the teammates will have a bit of a play here. Wilton's just ahead of Purnell, but Purnell's catching him at a fairly decent speed.
Yeah, he is. I don't know, or I doubt team orders would come into this in any way, shape, or form. I'd be very surprised if they did. But you know, I mean, yeah, time will tell, I suppose, as Purnell catches him. So
It will, and well, you know, if Purnell can get ahead of Wilton and get in between himself and Martin, it could help a little bit for the championship, of course. And of course, with Wilton's sort of seeing the intermittent internet issues that he's having, Purnell's going to want to be in front of him from behind him.
yeah, definitely. Well, the other thing too is Purnell's fighting for a championship, whereas Wilton came into this only a couple of rounds ago as a graduate after getting his top 3 in the track series last season. So, you know, I mean, you'd think that there'd be a fairly heavy bit of communication going on right now within that team and talking to each other to work out what's going to happen.
Yes, and you know, it's one of the things Alliance Motorsport, of course. You know, it's teamwork. You know, that's the thing. Is motorsport is not always just about the one person. It is that teamwork involved in it, and having teammates can really help out. And you know, you don't want sort of bad tactics and bad play to be a thing, but if you can get a teammate between yourself and your championship rival, it can be a very, very nice little buffer sometimes.
Yeah, that's very true. And look, you know, I normally drive for Alliance, except when I'm sitting up here in the booth with you, Carl. So I can tell you that there will be a lot. There you go. Wilton's just literally pulled across and let his team boss through. So, yeah, I had a feeling that would happen. And he'll now let Martin try to get past him the hard way while Purnell moves on up the road, you'd think. So obviously there's nothing wrong with that. Wilson doesn't have to concede to Martin, and yeah, he can fight him as hard as he wants. It's just part of the game, isn't it?
It is, and a really good move there. Absolutely, it's what Wilton needed to do, and it's given Purnell a nice gap now. You can see the gap he's pulling out on Martin as it is. And look, that's the thing. It's a team sport as well as sort of racing. You know, sometimes you've got to just let your teammates help your teammates out. We saw it earlier this season, I think, with when Dave Douglas got the win on I can't remember which oval it was, but the Blokes Advice Racing team did a fantastic job of sort of helping each other out, and they usually do on the sort of super speedways as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, Martin just got past Wilton as well. Look, I mean, Purnell caught them all fairly quickly, and he got past Martin a few laps before that. So Purnell's clearly got the pace anyway, right? And Martin's carrying all that damage. But I'm starting to think that Wilton's struggling probably on worn tyres would be my bet, because he seems to be losing time now, doesn't he?
He is, yes. He's struggling a fair bit, and you know, with all the trouble he's had this evening, he's done a fantastic job to keep up there. And he's not pushing it. He wasn't fighting it too hard with Martin, of course. And you know, that's the main thing, is he's managed to give Purnell a little bit of a chance to get a bit of a breather. Didn't fight Martin too hard. Did exactly what he needed to do. Drove very sportsmanlike as well. So it's what we like to see.
Yeah, he did. All right, so the laps are winding out now. We're working lap 43. I'm actually watching our leader, Hayden Dobman. Nice and lonely out there. He's got about a 12-second gap over Matt Danson now. So I don't really see that Danson's going to do much about it. He's only got 7 laps left to do it in. So, you know, you'd have to think that Dobman's definitely out there for the win.
Yeah, the only way I can see Danson catching Dodman is if Dodman throws it into the wall or something like that. Poor Hayden Dodman, he's had a bit of a race where we've forgotten about him, unfortunately. So we'll have to get a bit of a TV time on him now. Just a fantastic drive. He's managed to make up 5 places. All of that top 3 actually. Matt Danson's done a really good drive too, of course, making up 11 spots. But Dodman has just driven very smartly. He's not really put it at risk. He's just been very smooth. He's kept the car very neat and just driven exactly how you need to on a track like this.
Yeah, he has. Smart and measured. Needed to do that. It's a very difficult track to stay on the road, especially with worn tyres. You know, getting past traffic's difficult because it's quite a narrow track. So, yeah, no, it definitely has. And, I mean, look, if he goes on to take this, which is looking very much like he will, it's, lap 44 now, so he's got 6 laps to go. He'll be, he's one of only two race winners. That's actually hard to say.
It's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? The two race winners.
So what's he done now? She's won 3 so far, so this will be his 4th. Yeah. So 4 wins in a season. It's only going to help him in the championship. So
It is, and you know, he's driven really well this season. He's been very good. He's been very strong on the ovals, of course, and he's just had a strong showing and some of the road circuits as well. Godman's always very good on most tracks, which is always an advantage.
well, he won at Sonoma, if you remember, quite comfortably. So
Yes, Sonoma, the first broadcaster with us, I think that was, wasn't it?
yeah, I think it might have been. But you know, having said that, though, Sonoma's probably a difficult track like this to stay on, and you know, clearly he's just able to do it. He's just got what it takes to do these sort of tracks, hasn't he?
Absolutely, and you know, it's one of the things with Sonoma, Charlotte Roval, things like that. They are just very tricky tracks, and they're tracks that most drivers don't like. And that seems to be the track that Dodman just drives really well on. It suits his style.
Yeah, look, I won't say they don't like it. I'll actually correct you there. I think they say find it a little bit too hard. There's a bit of a difference, I reckon. They'll tell you they don't like it, but it's only because it's hard.
Like, racing drivers don't like anything hard. They like it to be nice and easy.
Controversial call there from me, but anyway, that's what I think. It's not that they don't like it, it's just too hard. But anyway.
Oh, look, I was doing some practice laps earlier on this track and I kept getting lost, so I'm not a big fan of it myself. It's just far too hard to find your way around.
Oh, it's a fun little track in certain cars, but one of these big things, yeah, trying to manhandle it around is not easy work.
No, and that's the thing is, you know, these cars are not really suited for these road tracks, and when you can get the hang of them, like people, these sort of the drivers we keep seeing at the top tend to do, it's a very tricky skill to get good at, but if you can get that skill under your sort of in your hand, it does help an enormous amount.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it takes a very, very, very specific way to get these cars to keep turning and stopping on a track like this. You know, they're designed for ovals, and you know, this is not their native environment, so to speak. But yeah, some guys can do it, some guys can't. To be honest with you, the guys that normally drive road and they're very good on roads, they're a lot better at it because they're just used to the dynamics of road courses. So.
Yeah, and we see that, of course, in the NASCAR series itself too. On, you know, you see these road specialists. You know, people like Juan Pablo Montoya, who was notoriously good at it because he was very good at those road circuits and kart as well earlier on. And yeah, they just, you know, they tend to just have that little bit of an advantage just because they're a bit more used to running on them.
Yeah, they are. They are. Look, just been watching Edward Foster and Joshua Carroll Walden here. They're back in 7th and 8th. Joshua Carroll Walden had a very close moment coming onto the oval just at the start of this lap before this one. So they seem to be battling pretty hard here. Luckily didn't touch him, but yeah, so they both live to find another couple of laps as we work lap 47 of 50. But yeah, I think they're going to take this one down to the last lap, to be honest with you, because they've kind of been glued together since the pit stops.
They have, yeah, they've been fighting very hard. And just behind them, we've still got Darren McKenzie holding on. Sort of trying his best to hold on, but he's just got Danny G with him as well. Looks like he's just got past. So Danny G is sitting in 10th place, Darren McKenzie in 9th. So another close battle with those cars.
Yeah, there is. I've just been having a look at the timing sheets, and it looks as though James Foster's actually closing up on Matt Danson. He's got that gap down to 5 seconds. I mean, they've only got a couple of laps to go now, but yeah, he seems to have been catching him at quite a rate.
Yeah, it's a real shame that James got involved in that incident earlier in the race, because he's had some really good pace today.
Yeah, he has. So anyway, still watching this battle between Edward Foster and Joshua Carroll Walden right now, and keeping a bit of a sort of half eye on the battle behind them between Darren McKenzie and Danny G. So everyone else is pretty much spread out and doing their own thing right now. So we'll cross back over to Dodman as we come on to the last lap, maybe.
Yes, I think we'll have to cross to him just as he sort of comes to the finish line, because this battle looks like it's going to be pretty much going until the end.
It
I
does.
imagine, I do imagine that Carol Walden's going to give a bit of a try on lap 49. This.
Oh, having said that though, he's just got it all wrong coming onto the oval from the road circuit, hasn't he?
He has, and he's dropped off a lot. And actually, same goes for the battle with Danny G and Darren McKenzie. Danny G's had a bit of a scruffy lap there, and he's dropped quite a lot off of the back of McKenzie. So Carol Walden might be in a spot where McKenzie could get him. Depends how he's going. He did lose quite a bit of time there. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame there. The battle has pretty much sorted itself out.
It has, it has. So, all right, we might move back up the front now, and we'll give Dobman a little bit of airtime on his last lap. He's only got one to go after this lap. He's just coming down around the final couple of turns of the oval right now, and then he'll cross the line to start his final lap. So, yeah, it's been a pretty good drive from Hayden. He's led a lot of laps, and yeah, it's just been a very clean, measured drive. I don't know what else to say about it. Almost clinical.
Yeah, it has, and Carol Walden's just gone completely sideways, going onto the oval again. Sorry, just back to that fight, and it's let McKenzie just catch up. It looks like McKenzie's going to have a good lunge down the inside of turn 1, possibly. That last lap lunge, might try it.
Well, he's only got one lap to do it in, so if he's going to make it happen, he needs to make it happen now. Meanwhile, I'm still following Dobman up here. He's got a bit of lap traffic in front of him, but I don't think they'll interfere too much with him.
No, and as you said, Dobman's just had such a good race. He's been so clean, and just great speed as well. You know, him, Danson, and James Foster have really had some great speed this race.
Well, they have, and Dobman set the fastest lap of the race at a 1:06.2, so, you know, he's certainly been on it. But as he comes down into the final couple of turns on the oval, it's just coming out now of turn 4 off the oval, down into the tri-oval, and Hayden Dobman crosses the line to take his 4th win of the season. Well done, Hayden Dobman.
Dominant victory there, just absolutely dominant. He's just dominated this race. Fantastic drive by Dobman.
Very much so. And Matt Danson crosses the line for 2nd. And I'm just looking back there now for Foster. He's just crossed the line. And then the next one across will be Purnell, fairway back again. Purnell comes home in 4th. And Aaron Wilton will round out the 5 with Jason Martin in 6th. Edward Foster in 7th. Carol Walden in 8th, Mackenzie in 9th, and Danny G in 10th. And I've just noticed there, just outside the 10, is Ash Lear in 11th. So despite all that damage after hitting Callow early on, he managed to hang on for an 11th, which is a pretty impressive effort for Ash Lear.
Yeah, he did really well to sort of get that car back up there. It was a real shame, because Ash Lear had a very good car for the start of this race, and the Callow incident really just took out a couple of big players.
It didn't it? It was a bit unfortunate, that. Well, it took out himself as well, you know.
Yes, and again, another fast car out of the race, and it was really unfortunate because we had some very fast cars up the front there. And not taking anything away from Dodman, because I think even with those cars on the track, I think Dodman would have still been the car to beat tonight. He just had, it was almost effortless for him. He was driving it very well. It looked like he was having a very easy time. Of course, I doubt that was the case, but he did make it look almost easy.
Yeah, I think if we get a chance to talk to him, I think he'll tell a very different story, Carl. I think if we were to say it looked very easy, I think he'd have a very different answer for us somehow.
Yes. We probably won't say it to his face, of course, because that usually ends up with something we can't repeat on air.
Alrighty, so as we watch the timing sheets just update here as the final stragglers come across. We might just go through the full finishing order just to recap, yeah. So
yes,
as stated before, Hayden Dodman takes a well-deserved win tonight. Matt Danson comes home in 2nd. James Foster comes home in 3rd. Chris Purnell comes home in 4th. Aaron Wilton comes home in 5th. Jason Martin in 6th. Edward Foster in 7th. Joshua Carroll Walden in 8th. Darren McKenzie in 9th. And Danny G in 10th.
And then following on from 10th, we have Ashley Lear in 11th. Real shame, he had a very good car. Ben Doherty manages to get 12th place. Riley Curtis finished in 13th. Gavin Sadler in 14th. Michael Skurlock, not often seen down that far. He managed to get 15th place. Norman Clark in 16th. Nicholas Shield managed to cross the line and finish the race in 17th place. He had a bit of a rough race by the looks of it. I saw that car off track a number of times. Stephen Williams in 18th, and then we've got pretty much the sort of the back of the field where we have a few non-finishers. We start with Carl Sloggett, Mitchell McLeod, of course, who had that big accident into the fence. Jackson Callow, Dwayne Priest in 22nd, Jake Maloney in 23rd, another fast driver that was out of the race very early on. Dave Douglas in 24th, Matthew Clute, and another big name there, down in 25th place. Aaron Dillon in 26th. 27th was Todd Maxfield, and 28th was Roger Clark.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of names there. It's certainly going to be interesting on the table. It's going to be a little bit tipped upside down come next round. Once all of them have been loaded and updated, it's I'm not even sure how this is going to pan out. It's just going to change the complexion of it completely, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's going to be, I think, it's going to really help James Foster get a little bit closer to the top, actually. With Matthew Clute and Riley Curtis both sort of pretty much out of the area, it's going to sort of put them back. Hayden Dockman's going to help climb to a bit higher. Edward Foster, of course, not a terrible race, but he didn't finish where he would have wanted to. He was a bit further down the field than normal, and that could affect him. Jason Martin as well. He did manage to claw his way back up to 6th place, which was a very good drive by him, considering how far he was back at the start of the race.
Yeah, indeed. So I'll look forward to seeing those points when they're updated. So, all right. What we might do is I'm just having a look up here in the green room to see who's around to have a chat to. I was hoping either Hayden Dobman or Matt Dancer would be there, but not as yet. But we do have our 3rd place getter in James Foster, so I might pull James down and have a quick chat, Carl.
That sounds like a good idea, Brett.
Good evening, James Foster. Brett Douglas here from Performance eStreaming. How are you?
How are you, Brett? How are you, Carl?
Good, thank you, James.
Well, interesting race for you there, James. Great effort there in 3rd. Noticed you had a fairly sort of up and down race, especially early on when Jackson Callow hit the wall and Ashley cleaned him up. You came through and just caught a piece of Callow as well. Talk us through what happened there. Did you have much damage? Did it really slow the car down too much? You looked okay.
Yeah, at the top of the screen it told me that I was a 4X, which means I was a decent hit, but I didn't really feel anything when I went past him. So yeah, I didn't actually find it much of an interesting race at all, to be honest. Nothing really happened to me at all. I just circulated and drove around to the end, and that was it.
Okay, no, from up here, I mean, there was that little incident there that we just spoke about, but you seem to have a couple of smaller battles through the race, and you seem to jump up a few spots after the pit stops too. A few guys seem to drop down. We're still not really sure what happened there, but yeah. So okay, a boring race from your point of view, but it looks okay from here.
Yeah, I mean, I went past Aaron only because he was having some internet issues, so he had to let both me and Danson past, which is unfortunate for him. But yeah, I took on too much fuel at the stop, which cost me a bit of time. But even so, I don't think I had the pace to keep Danson behind. I think he had pace spare. So yeah, to start where I started and to finish P3, I can't complain. It was a good result. So now I just have to try and contend with the ovals and get some top 10s if possible.
Well, it's only going to help you in the championship because a few other guys struggled tonight. So, it might at least buy you a couple of places there. Matty Clute, a couple of others failed to finish. So, it can only help you, mate. Can only help you. So, Carl, you got anything for James?
Yes, James. With the pit stop, you just sort of stopped pretty much the last car to stop of the front runners. Really, was that a sort of more a tactical choice on your end? Were you feeling the car was handling pretty well? And I'm fortunate to hear about the extra fuel you took on there.
Yeah, as you know, I usually like to go for the undercut to get that advantage, but I didn't even feel that quick on fresh tyres compared to the others. So I thought, I'll just try something different. And then I'm thinking, well, they're probably going to be lapping considerably quicker than me, so I just pitted the lap after. But I didn't think anything I was going to do was going to affect my final position. I sort of expected there to be a few retirements here and there, and I was just trying to stay out of trouble. But yeah, best case scenario would have been, having the pace to try the undercut, but I just didn't feel confident enough, and I also didn't want to be finishing the race on horrible tyres. I didn't see an opportunity to get an advantage, so I just didn't take it.
That's fair enough. Yeah, thank you for the insight there. It's look, good finish there, and as we say, it's only going to help with the championship. There are quite a few drivers around you that didn't finish sort of where they would usually finish, so hopefully the ovals go well for you for the rest of the season, James.
Yeah, early on I ran into a bit of bad luck where I got taken out in some incidents, and since then it's gone okay. I just got to hope for the same sort of thing that happened to the cars in front of me, and you never know, I might be up there near the end, but it's unlikely, as you know, the roads are sort of what I do well in and not so much the ovals, but I'll see what happens.
Good luck for the rest of the season, James.
Cheers, guys.
No worries. Got anyone you want to call out to before you go, James?
Yeah, to our sponsor, Blokes Advice, which I forgot to mention last week, so I apologise to them for that. And yeah, and obviously the other guys from Riley Curtis Design. Good result for my brother, and hopefully it does well for his championship as well.
No worries at all. All right. Thanks, James. Good luck in the next round.
Cheers, mate. Take it easy.
You too. All right. That was our third place getter, James Foster. Just having a look now. Still don't have Hayden or Matt, unfortunately. So, yeah, we might pull down fourth place. That's about as good as it's going to get for us, I guess. Not that there's anything wrong with that, of course, but we might pull Chris Purnell down and find out where he's at. Yeah, a bit of an up and down run for him. Obviously battling for the championship. Yeah, we'll get his thoughts on the race, Cal.
Yeah, that'll be good, and it'll be interesting to see what he had with the pit stop as well, because him and Foster both had very bad pit stops, so hopefully we're going to find out what happened there.
Indeed, I'll just pull him down. Chris Purnell, Brett and Carl from Performance E-Streaming. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks, guys, and yourself?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. P4, not what you wanted, but still a fairly consistent run, although it looked like it was a pretty up and down night for you. Talk us through it, and what happened at the pit stop? You seemed to lose a few spots.
Yeah, I got done for speeding in segment 2. I come in perfectly, and then, yeah, I had a bit of a brain fade and got done about 2Ks over. So, yeah, that cost me 15 seconds in the stop. The car was good. I rubbed the fence heading on to the oval section in, I think it was the second or third lap, and it gave me a little bit of right front damage, but it wasn't too bad. It was still able to drive, and the tyres seemed to work better for me on the long run, but I just couldn't do anything with that last sort of 26 lap run.
Yeah, well, that's a bit of a shame. I'm wondering if you didn't catch a few others out too in the pits, Chris, because we noticed a couple of guys drop back, so that could be the answer to that. So, but you seem to have a couple of reasonably good battles out there. You had a bit of a couple of laps there with your old mate Jason Martin, although he was carrying a lot of damage, so he didn't seem to put up too much of a fight. But no, so overall the race, just spoke to James Foster. He said it was pretty boring from his perspective. What about yours?
Yeah, that first stage was pretty, pretty average, to be honest with you. It was just sort of cruise around and manage your stuff. The two Talk boys sort of took off pretty quickly, and then I come around the corner and saw Mitch was in the fence, which was a shame for him. But Hayden was just had the dominance on the field. If I didn't get that speeding, I probably would have finished second, maybe third, depending on how the tyre life would have gone in that second part of the race. But yeah, it was all right. It was just a race to score decent points, and had a decent battle there at the end with Jason. I think I scared him a little bit when I shot up the inside and he left the door open for me. But yeah, apart from that, it was a bit of fun.
No, it's all good. Carl, you got anything for Chris?
Yeah, hey Chris, how you going? Carl here.
Yeah, good mate.
So yeah, it seemed to be a very sort of not the best race, but could have gone a lot worse for you. It looks like it's good for your championship though, with Aaron finishing just behind you, Aaron Moulton just finishing behind you.
Yeah, so Aaron had internet issues tonight, so he was sort of pretty generous and let us jump past when he could for us. And yeah, the race, like I said, it was all right. I'm still struggling with back pains from the Dover race last weekend, so my focus isn't exactly 100% at the moment. So I hope to sort of get myself back to full capacity before the end of the season to really have a crack at the championship.
Yes, I was actually going to ask you about that one sort of next. Yeah, hopefully the back sort of starts to sort itself out. It's a real shame when things like that hold you back. Has it really been affecting you for this sort of race?
I'm all right driving. It's just a mental thing. It kind of sends shooting pains up the spine every once in a while, and I get like numb legs and stuff like that. So I'm all right, but it definitely affects your confidence to drive consistently, and it does play on your mind a little bit more than anything. It's more of a mental challenge for me at this point.
Yeah, I can very much understand that with some back issues myself, but yeah, very good finish there at the end, and hopefully it's going to do well for your championship, and hopefully we'll see you up there for the rest of the season, Chris.
Cheers, guys. Appreciate it.
No worries. Anyone you'd like to call out to, Chris, before you go?
I just want to say thanks to you guys up in the booth here at Performance E-Streaming, ANZCAR for running a great legs, and I'd like to thank C21 Systems, Scrubbers Detailing, and the boys at Alliance Motorsport.
No worries. All right, we'll see you in a fortnight at Darlington.
Cheers, buddy.
All right, so we might wrap that one up now, Carl. Unfortunately, didn't get a chance to talk to our winner Hayden or our second place man Matt Danson, but the other guys certainly spread a little bit of light on a couple of issues that might have been encountered out there. Might answer what happened to some of the other guys in the pit stops, getting penalties possibly. I'm not saying that's what it was, but it would make sense.
Yes, it's one of the things with Charlotte. It has got a very tricky pit lane. The pit exit's very rough as well, but going into the pits it's always a problem where it's very easy to speed. I think everybody was just in damage control mode tonight. They were just trying their best not to go too far down, especially the championship boys, because it's sort of like a race where it's a bit like, oh, well, bonus points if we get high up, but the chances are we're probably going to get taken out. I think a lot of them were thinking in that sort of mindset tonight.
Yeah, quite possibly. And you mentioned about the pit exit before. I'll be honest with you, I actually thought there'd be a lot more incident happening down at the exit, but we didn't see anything, did we?
No, the only time I really saw something, I think, was with one of the Fosters, actually. I think it was James. When he was coming out the pits, he was very close to Chris Purnell in the Alliance Motorsport. So yeah, they had a very close moment. But other than that, there wasn't really much, and I was expecting that pit exit to be a bit of a problem. So very good to see that everybody was driving relatively smartly tonight, and there weren't very many accidents, which is always what we want to see. We want to see racing on the track, not crashes.
Yeah, it was just unfortunately for our early race leader, Mitchell McLeod, to crash out that way. It was a bit unfortunate, but overall, you're right. It was a fairly clean race. There was a few offs here and there, but overall, it was very clean. So, all right, well, that ends our road courses for season 2 of Thunder. Next fortnight, on the 1st of November, we go to round 11 at Darlington, which is a very difficult little track at the best of times. It's going to be a real test for these guys after running 2 road courses to get back into the oval way of doing things, and especially at Darlington. It'll be interesting to see how many of them earn their Darlington stripe there, Carl.
Yes, it's going to be. It's pretty much back in the out of the frying pan into the fire with that one. It's one of those ovals that's a bit of a tricky one to get used to, and especially just coming off of these road courses, they're probably going to be doing a bit of practice on that track for the next couple of weeks, just coming up to the race.
I'd be doing practice even if I hadn't just come off road, because Darlington's a very difficult track to run, hence why they have the old saying with the Darlington stripe, right?
Yes, that is it. It's another one of those tracks that are not, well, a lot of drivers will say they don't particularly like it.
It's just hard, Carl. It's not that they don't like it. It's just hard. Anyway, on that note, we're going to wrap up. Thank you very much to you, Carl, and to Matty Hunter, as always, for driving the cameras. Thanks to the other boys in Performance E-Streaming and ANZCAR for putting on the series. But I guess that's about it. And we'll see everybody on the 1st of November at Darlington for 120 laps of oval racing.
We'll see you all then, and thank you as much as for yourself, Brett. As always, a pleasure, and we will see you all at Darlington. Have a great day, all.
Not all.